Okay, it's 6 o'clock. I'm going to call the Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee to order. And roll call, we have Laura Belkey, John Franco, Felix Garcia, Aaron Caro, John Morrissey excused, Frederick Brookhouse excused, and I'm not sure where Supervisor Gray is. So I'll wait to notate him because he's just a couple minutes late. And then we also have Melanie Jerzembowski. Thank you. Okay. Do we have any citizens' comments this evening? Citizens' comments? Citizens' comments? Seeing no citizens' comments, they are closed. Are there any supervisor comments? Seeing none. Chairman comments. Depending, I'm going to get with Vice Chair Franco probably within the next week. And we're going to talk about putting Clerk of Circuit Court on as a regular agenda item so that she can provide updates. And then we'll start the rotation with the judges as well, because they offered to come in so we can hear about their court. So we'll start that up again. And Supervisor Gray is here.
Hey.
Okay. Would you give him a resolution, please? Okay. Vice Chair, did you have any comments?
No, I didn't.
Okay, thank you for filling in
No,
for me.
no problem.
Appreciate it. That's all I have for supervisor or chairman comments. Approval of minutes from February 5th, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any disapproved? Okay, passes. We have a resolution to accept the Justice Assistance Grant license plate reader cameras for the Kenosha County Sheriff's Office. Captain Clint Cameron.
Good evening. I'm here to present the JAG grant for grant license plate reader cameras. We applied for this grant and happily got accepted. So these cameras we will be purchasing, should the grant be approved, 3 of them. And they will be able to be deployed discreetly or on our speed trailers. They will record the license plates of vehicles passing by. Not sure if we will be able to swing. I don't think we're going to have real-time access to this data, but it'll be data that's recorded, and we can then run reports and search for license plates. Another use I picture is in the high crime areas. Places where burglaries are occurring, or if we have a string of some type of crime in a neighborhood or in a subdivision or along a highway, we can deploy these cameras, record the license plates, and then begin looking for possible suspects. So it'll be an investigatory tool. I think that's why the grant offered this, or the state offered this grant opportunity. And we're excited to get running with this.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Are there any questions?
Move to approve. Second.
Any other discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any deny? Thank you. Passes.
Thank you.
The next one is the amendment to the municipal code of Kenosha County, chapter 8.02. Now this one I want to explain a little bit. I did talk to Council Cardamone, and I said the resolution was not attached to the agenda. And he said the statute says that we only have to notify of what we're talking about. So if a citizen wanted to come and talk about the cabaret license, they would know that it's a topic on the agenda. He said it's okay to present the resolution and to go forward with it. So initially we talked about a lot of the changes that have been made here. But I thought since you hadn't had the chance to review it, let's go through it. And I'll let Supervisor Carroll talk about section 8.01, which really is PDEC's responsibility. Which is PDEC's responsibility. And I will talk about 8.02, which is the cabaret license. So Supervisor Carroll, you want to
Sure.
start it off?
So I think starting at the beginning is an important place to start. So chapter 8 is licenses and permits. That's the title of that chapter. Section 8.01 is related to the activity control permit or license within the county. This is only for specific events. And this is coming through Andy Bueller that asked for this change in section 8.01 3A2, which basically adds the statement that shall first obtain an activity control license and a conditional use permit obtained through Kenosha County. So at the time the ordinance was written, the conditional use permit provision wasn't in here, although it's a requirement now. So we wanted to make sure that change got memorialized in this particular section of 8.01, which is standard practice, and it does happen that way. I mean, the biggest example, I think really the only example is Country Thunder that gets an activity control license, right?
Correct.
Yep. So
There's, that has to do with the number of people.
It's not
Right.
100 or 1,000, something like that.
right. And section 8.01 talks about the requirements of when it's required and things of that. So this is just changing one section of that to notify people that in addition to the activity control license, they also need a conditional use permit.
And so anything underlined was added. Of course, anything through the type has been removed.
Right.
So that number 2 is we added up to 2 musicians not electronically amplified. If performing outside, a conditional use permit must be also obtained. That's the way Andy Bueller and Council Cardamone wanted it. And then the second one is be it further resolved, the last be it further resolved on the first page. 8.021E3 of the municipal code, 2 or more musicians electronically amplified if performing outside, conditional use permit must also be obtained.
And this is 8.02 is related to cabaret licenses. And this really comes down to, when the license is required is when you have a Class B liquor or beer license within the unincorporated areas of the county. So,
And I think the main thing to this is to understand, from our discussion last fall, is cabaret license, you can only play music outside until dusk. They can't play after dusk. Now, some of these bars, they have events and fundraisers that go past dusk. So that's where they would have to go to PDEC and then get the conditional use permit. And they need a cabaret license and a conditional use permit. They would need both.
Right.
Okay.
And the discussion that we had amongst ourselves at PDEC and here with Chairman Belsky was that how do we handle this as the county and allow it to happen? And we thought that the best thing for it to happen is to go back to the local towns to let them make the decisions on this. And by going through the conditional use permit process, it really does put a lot of control back in the local towns on that, because they're the ones that get to look at it, add conditions that they want to, pass those conditions on to the county, to planning and development, and work through all the little nuances that would happen at each individual location.
But the county still signs off on it.
Right.
That's the main thing.
Right.
So on the second page, it's mostly 8.02. And in a lot of cases, when Supervisor Gray and I were originally going through it, Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee was not identified. It was just the county board. The second paragraph, 8.02 2E, they had that we would be doing like a public hearing. We didn't feel that was necessary. and then to publish notice for a hearing. So we removed that commentary. And the third paragraph, 8.022F. So we just eliminated after the public hearing and after deliberations. And then the fourth paragraph, 8.023A. Of course, we added Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee. And then, let's see, about the license, pardon?
Took out the by him.
By him, yeah, just received concerning the holder. And then the last paragraph, 8.023C. We added that, and I discussed this with Captain Klinkhammer, that the sheriff's office will on a monthly basis provide a summary of any licenses which have been renewed or for which such renewal was denied. That way we have more visibility to automatic renewals. We know who's coming up, and so, you know, we can keep it on our radar. And then Aaron, if you Supervisor Carol, if you want to take the
Sure.
last one.
And then the last one is really what got, is I think addresses what our initial concern was when we had some local establishments come in the PDAC. And this is allowing the, you know, I'll just go ahead and read it. I know we all have here, but, you know, music may be amplified outside only during daylight hours, subject provisions of D above. Amplified music is allowed outside after dark for establishments operating under 8.01 activity control license. And then, so that was how it originally was stated. It could only be if you had an activity control license, but activity control license only applied to large special events. So then we added to it, or if the parameters requiring an activity control license are not met, approval may be given by through a conditional use permit obtained through Kenosha County Planning and Development. Outside amplified music and an activity control license also require a conditional use permit obtained through Kenosha County Planning and Development. Any outside amplified music, whether under a cabaret license or an activity control license, requires a conditional use permit obtained through Kenosha County Planning and Development. So I know there was a lot of back and forth and a lot of people had different thoughts about, well, you know, and in particular, I know Lily Lake Lounge was one of it. I know I had heard from Jetties as well, and they wanted to do some of this, and folks were like, well, how do we know that what they're doing is, you know, up to code, you know, because Lily Lake Lounge had put up a stage and did some electric work, but it wasn't approved or didn't have the permit. But it's like, that's really not our deal. And it's not handled through the county and through the cabaret licensing or the conditional use permit. That's really a town issue through permitting process. You know, anything, at any time you want to make any improvements to your property outside, you need to get the proper permits through the building inspector and through those. So it's like, that's an enforcement issue as far as we're concerned.
Mm-hmm. Questions? Captain, what do you think about this? Will it make it clear?
I just gotta remember when I get those notices from the clerk to. I mean, would you guys want a memo form? Would you want it in an email to the?
You can just send an email report.
Okay.
That's fine.
Alright.
Yeah, and then I do want people that are applying for probationary and for the 2-year, they should attend the meeting.
Okay.
So if we have questions.
Is that on here? Thought
I
I read
think it
something where it
is.
says that
Yeah,
they're
it's in
required to
there.
attend.
It's in there.
So when they don't attend, are they not? They technically shouldn't be getting.
Yeah, because we're not able to ask them questions. Let's see.
Yeah, I read it.
This is the one with the hearing. The applicant, it's on page 2, second paragraph. The last 4 sentences, the applicant is required to attend the committee meeting to answer any questions prior to the granting or denial of the license. The chairman of the Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee is empowered to administer an oath to witness prior to taking any testimony regarding the granting or denial of a license.
This is just for probationary. No,
Once they pass
regular,
probationary,
you're good.
once they pass probationary, they should be good.
Correct.
You know, it would be nice if they showed up,
Yeah.
but for probationary, absolutely.
Okay.
So, and hopefully, this new ordinance will make it easier on the deputies too, so that they know, they need to see a, condition, permit. So conditional use permit if it's after dark. So there's no more questions, you know, whether they have a cabaret or not.
And that's probably more of an administrative function to communicate the, you know, because essentially PDEC would approve it because it's a conditional use permit. It would not come to the board then. So on something like this, I guess the question I would have is, would Andy Bueller then, or whoever's the director of PDEC, would they know to send that to the sheriff's department then?
Yeah, somebody, you guys should probably tell them that.
Well, they should be sending it back to the clerk because the clerk takes care of all that.
Okay, do you normally get stuff from the clerk or any communications? So,
No?
We get some conditional use permit emails,
Okay, let's follow up on that then.
right,
so.
because that way you'd be like, hey, I got a call on this event, this is happening, and then you could look up in your
Actually,
records,
we do get-
hey, is there a conditional use permit for this?
We do get notified when
You do?
cups are issued to, places where they're typically not.
Okay,
So if a business has a cup for an event, we get notified.
right. And the idea behind this is that the establishments, if you say you wanted, like now in the springtime before it gets nice out, you could get your conditional use permit. You could set your series of events up. Hey, I want to have, 10 events this year or something like that. Pick the dates and, plan ahead for it. Or, if you don't know who your events are going to be, just try to plan out the dates for it. There's probably some flexibility that can be worked into it. And that's where the negotiation between the town and the applicant and the county comes in, and just be like, okay, here's the dates, here's the conditions for use, and, so that way everybody understands what it is and it's not just happening without.
But they still need what's important is cabaret and conditional use.
Right. Yep.
So
Yep.
they would see both of us.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
To approve this ordinance as written, as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, it passes. It's an
It's an
ordinance, it's a it's
Resolution
a
or an ordinance.
ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Resolution,
I was right.
amending an ordinance.
Oh,
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
so we think this will alleviate a lot of problems this summer.
Well-
More will appear, don't worry.
There will be issues, but it establishes a process for which allowing things to happen in an orderly fashion.
Yes. Great.
Oh, the grant, okay.
Next item is the sheriff's office. Captain, if you have any updates on any of the items, we would be very interested.
This is a, working time of year for the administration. We're trying to get caught up and, get ready for the summer. So we started planning and, we sent the bond letter out to Country Thunder, so we're getting ready for that. Project that's gonna be very busy this year because there's some very high profile acts. And more to come to you all on that. But beyond that, we've had a couple high profile pursuits.
Mhm.
One that ended in a crash in Illinois, one that ended near Salem Grade School in the middle of the night, luckily on a weekend. So there wasn't any, real community issues with that one, but,
What does correction staffing look like?
well, Captain Brass is here, so I'll give him.
Good job, sir.
Yeah, Steve Brandis, so I can touch on a few things with detention. So as far as staffing goes, February, we did hire 5 correctional officers. But as things go in detentions, we are having to hire 10 already slated for March. So in 2 weeks, we'll hire 10 more. as of a couple of days ago, that should have been it, but we already have openings now for April.
Oh,
So
so you still have the
we
turnover.
still have turnover. Some other big items, we gave notice of the, medical contract. So that was signed in the last month. So I've been working forward. I've been having meetings daily with the new company, the old company. There are some things with, medical records and that thing, some complex data moves and stuff like that. So we're working forward on all that to make sure we have a changeover on April 1st.
I listen to the scanner quite a bit since I have all this time now, sitting on the couch. And, I noticed that you don't have the 3:30, emergency incarceritis, have to go to the hospital anymore.
We still do get those, but yeah.
But it's not like there was a pattern, it seemed like, that you were getting a lot of turnover.
I mean, and a lot of that stuff also coincides with the number of inmates or the number of people you have in custody. So the more people in custody, the more people go to the hospital, it seems, and, so.
Okay. Good, good.
Arthritis.
Yeah, that's what they call it, right? Incarcerated,
Incarceritis, yeah.
yeah.
Are you, one of the things I remember in the budget was the, is it housing, was it federal inmates or anything?
US Marshals.
Yeah,
yes.
just curious on how, has there been any change in that with,
We've been pretty steady at 22. So that has not increased or decreased at all so far. So
Okay.
it's been pretty static at 22.
What about community programs? Where are you at with community programs?
Right now, we actually just created a position within a department. It's our wellness coordinator.
Oh,
The Sergeant Andrea Marion will be taking over that assignment, and part of her duties will be to help incorporate not only just the officer wellness programs that are coming up here in the next couple months, but also making sure that she's overseeing the coordination of all the events that are going to be considered part of the community outreach. It was something that fell on the public information officer before. We kind of identified some changes that needed in admin, so there's a little bit of restructuring within admin. And we're kind of excited because we're going to incorporate a few other folks to come in on with that. The sheriff, as you know, he really likes to communicate a lot of information via social media when possible. So we're going to try to enhance that as best as we can with the resources that we have. So
you guys do a pretty good job now, I think.
we're
So-
trying.
Is Joy part of the wellness?
Joy is actually gonna be part of that entire team.
That's the new puppy canine, yeah.
So Joy, any type of public service requests that come through, that'll be handled by Sergeant Marion. So yeah, moving forward to this year, hopefully,
Good,
we'll be on the map a little bit more
good,
and in a positive way.
good, good. With regard to, grants, how many federal grants do we get for the sheriff's department? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, it's a handful. So I'd probably say, if I had to give a range, probably between 3 to 5 are federal.
Are they quite large?
Most of them are drug grants, so they're probably, of the 3, they're on average, probably about $50,000.
We want to keep an eye on that,
Oh, yeah.
because my understanding, there's going to be cuts coming. So, we'll have to adjust going forward with the budget. But we can review that in April. I think we have our first budget meeting, annual budget meeting. Yep, yep.
Well, we've already had grants approved and run through 2025. I don't know how
Good.
apt they are considering the current administration to cut law enforcement grants, but
I heard fire and law enforcement. I learned that from the city. I know their transportation department, their transit got cut 80%. Their federal funding. So just keep your eyes and ears open, and because we'll have to do some adjustments. Any other questions, Supervisor Gray, Vice Chair Franco? Melanie, any questions? Supervisor? No? Any questions?
no questions, but I don't know that it has a large impact on you or not, but the Village of Twin Lakes did approve a school resource officer for the Twin Lakes Police Department to be in Randall School.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's some coordination at law enforcement level at some degree, but just figure I'd let you know.
Yeah, we have a school safety team that's recently, over the past 6 months, has been slowly ramping up and gaining speed, and we are coordinating with all of our schools. We have some training coming up regarding active incidents, responding for supervisors. Randall is part of that, and Philman's will be part of that as well. So,
What about, do you think in in May, perhaps, you'll have data on the number of calls versus contracts for the municipalities?
likely.
So, I'm being selfish here with my schedule. So the beginning of May, let's shoot for the 1st of June to review the contracts and to review the data so that we know what we're dealing with the number of calls that are actually going out, and if they're exceeding if they're exceeding the contracts. So that can be reassessed.
Okay.
Okay, so that you guys are getting the funding that you need to provide the proper coverage.
Okay.
Anything else, anyone? Quick agenda.
Need a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I do.
I just did it.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.